Hi, I'm Justin and welcome to the Landis Look, where we take an inside look at the world of real estate. Today, we're taking a second inside look into high performance homes, and we're here with Dan Southard. Dan, thanks for being here.
Thanks again for having me.
Dan's a local builder, the owner of Round Here Renovations, and we're in an EarthCraft Certified house that Dan built. And if you want to get an overview of what it means to be EarthCraft Certified in a high performance home, make sure to go back and watch last week if you didn't get a chance to see it. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the actual features that make this house EarthCraft Certified, and we've got a mechanical closet here behind us, and Dan's going to walk us through a couple things that make this house EarthCraft Certified and high performance. So first of all, the HVAC system is not a normal HVAC. Dan, tell us some of the additional things from this HVAC system.
Absolutely. So it's an upgraded HVAC system that's going to be hooked up with a whole house ventilation system that's basically going to operate from the standpoint of bringing fresh air in as is needed. Based on the overall infiltration and exfiltration of the house itself. So that's going to kick on automatically if the system recognizes that it needs some fresh air from outside. It'll pull that air in at a certain rate, it will filter that air, and then it will disperse it throughout the space itself.
Because the house is a lot tighter. So unlike the house that I had that was built in 1903, where there was a nice breeze that came through the windows, you don't have the air coming in and out, because one of the things about these houses is they are really tight, right?
Absolutely. So we put a prime focus on air sealing and insulation on the rough stages of things, so that we can make sure that we can control that air. Well, how much air comes in, how much air goes out. We want to limit that as much as possible. We want to have that tighter house for sure.
Awesome. Another thing I noticed in here was there is a tankless water heater, and also that it's electric, which kind of surprised me. So we have an electric hot water heater. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this house specifically is all electric. We do not run a gas line here, with kind of a mind for a future resident or future occupant that would want to go and install solar panels on the roof. With solar prices coming down throughout the years, we thought that would be a good bet for somebody if they wanted to completely go off grid. Then they could put some panels on their house.
Love that.
And basically have the sun power the house itself. So.
And the water heater, it only runs when the water is needed, which thus makes it more efficient.
Exactly, as opposed to having a tank unit, the traditional tank water heater, that's going to be heating water constantly, regardless of whether or not you're using it. With a tankless model, you're able to provide on-demand heating that's going to be far more energy efficient.
And that's something that people could retrofit in their existing home as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You can do tankless models, come both from a gas standpoint, natural gas, or electric. So
awesome. Another thing I noticed in here is there's a radon vent. Does that mean that there were radon issues in this house, or is that something you did? Is it proactive?
No. So most land here in Atlanta, Georgia, metro area is zone 1 for radon activity. So it's always a good idea, and part of the EarthCraft certification process requires a passive radon system. So basically what that means is before we poured the slab for this house, we ran some vents underneath that inside the gravel bed, and then ran some piping up from the slab that goes outside the house and dumps that air that is pulling out there outside. And if for whatever reason the levels were higher, it would be a really easy process to install a mechanical fan inside that line that would help get that.
And that's one of the things you mentioned last week, that there was a lot of upfront planning that was done on this house that actually made the cost of construction stay very in line with the house that wouldn't have been EarthCraft certified. But because you planned for this actually wasn't that much more expensive, but it's a big upgrade.
Yeah, it's actually like shockingly easier than I thought to build a high performance house. And it's something that for future projects that we do, we've incorporated a lot of that as kind of our standard MO now. So for new houses, we're always going to put these radon vents in. We're always going to do a good job air sealing, as well as putting spray foam where we need to put spray foam, things like that. So
awesome. One quick PSA on the radon. So radon is a naturally occurring element that comes out of the ground. It's actually the second highest cause of lung cancer in the United States. And like you said, Atlanta is known for having a lot of radon. And so when my home inspector first started recommending these probably 10 or 12 years ago, I pulled him aside and I was like, hey, is this just a way to make an extra few bucks, or are these really, is this really an issue? And he's like, no, more than 1 out of 5 come back at unsafe levels. And so over the years, we've seen that is the case. And we have seen some come back at really unsafe levels, really, really high levels of radon. And so if you haven't had that checked in your house, especially a house that has a basement, You just have a higher risk of having a high level there because it comes up into the house and then gets trapped below grade. That could be something that you'd want to get checked out. You can get those kits online or at Home Depot, and they're really not that expensive to have a baseline check. But that might be something you might want to consider. That's something that Dan's already taken into account here in this house that's high performance and EarthCraft certified. So we've taken a look at this mechanical closet. Next, we're going to go up to the attic and take a look at a couple things there. So follow us on up. We'll go take a look at the attic next. All right, so now we're upstairs about to take a look at the attic. And Dan, the first thing that I noticed is there's no insulation on the back of this attic door. I thought that was one of like the easiest ways to insulate a house. It's EarthCraft certified. Why is there no insulation right there?
Sure. So kind of one of the main things that we did on this house specifically was we took the building enclosure, which is typically on the ceiling of your highest level, your second level of the house in this case, and we pushed it to the roof line itself. So our building enclosure, where our conditioned space is, now also includes the attic itself.
So you're normally trying to see the insulation on the floor of the attic, and that's why you have insulation on the attic door.
Exactly.
And so your enclosure was at the ceiling, but now it's all the way up at the top. And so this house has spray foam insulation, and that's in the top. And also I saw that downstairs as well.
Yes, exactly. So on our walls in the basement and our attic roof line, we installed open cell spray foam, which is going to provide us a couple benefits. One is the air sealing benefit. So there's a lot less air that's going to be able to move out of the attic and out of the basement walls and into the attic and into the basement walls from the outside. The other benefit is that it's a better insulator. So you get generally a higher R value for your insulation.
Nice. The other thing I noticed up there is the ductwork is attached to the roof line of the house.
Yeah, so we brought the ductwork inside the building enclosure when we chose to put that spray foam insulation along the roof line. It brought the ductwork inside that conditioned space. So now we're not really worried about if we lose air from the second level up to the attic space because it's all part of that conditioned space, which is going to allow that ductwork and the HVAC system that services it to be far more efficient.
Yeah, I never thought about that in a normal house. So the attic is super hot and you're running cold air through the ductwork, right? Which obviously you have some temperature fluctuation on that.
Exactly.
And you're not having that here.
Yep. In July and August of next year, it's not gonna be 120 degrees up there. It'll be a comfortable 70, 75, whatever the main temperature of the house is.
Awesome. Well, thanks for this tour, Dan. It's been really great to see some of the things that are EarthCraft certified in this house and that make this a high performance home. If you were to give people who already have a home one tip, what's the biggest bang for the buck that they could get in an existing home where you can't start from scratch and do all the cool things we talked about?
That's a great question. I'd probably recommend, if you're able to, bring the HVAC system and its ductwork inside that building enclosure. That's going to be your best bet. So if you have HVAC system and ductwork in your crawl space or in your attic space or both, if you can find a way to encapsulate that crawl space or enclose your attic space with some spray foam insulation, something like that, you're gonna notice a big benefit, both from an energy efficiency standpoint as well as a insulation standpoint too.
Awesome. Appreciate that tip. Appreciate your time today. This is a gorgeous house, and it's awesome that it's going to be great for the folks who live here to live in a house that has such high air quality and such great energy efficiency. It's also just great for the world as we battle climate change and sustainability, that new houses are getting more efficient. So really appreciate you.
Yep.
And thanks for watching. If y'all have more questions about this, I know Dan would be happy to answer questions. We would too. Drop us a line here or send us a message like so many of you do. And we will see you again next week. Thanks for listening.